I know you and I love you and I appreciate your madness. But the world that's going to be listening to this conversation when you and I are done here, they don't necessarily know you. So whilst you think about how you want people to know you, let me just officially welcome you to Full Circle. Today we're filming at Gallery Momo, of course, one of our favorite spaces. So those of you who are here, you will see that there's wonderful art on the wall, and you can look them up anytime and come and check out the exhibition. I'm sure it's going to be up for yet another month or two. But the joy of sitting in a space like this that is open, besides just being COVID compliant, allows for the free flow also of dialogue. So you see, I've helped you. I've bought you 2 minutes to think about when people say, who is Felipe, how do you answer?
I think more than anything, I'm a quintessential maverick. But within that, I love keeping the mystery and the mystique about me. Um, it's only those who are close to me who know my beginnings and where I am at right now, that I share that journey with. I just think sometimes when you give yourself too much to the world, you become instant. It's like you become very coffee.
Yeah.
You're not actually the coffee bean. So people
Chicory.
don't chicory. You
Yes.
become chicory. So you people don't get to appreciate all your different flavors. And you become by instant as well. You become fashionable today and you're out tomorrow. Believe that at my age, I've literally come full circle in my mind, in my career, in my contribution, in my being a son,
Yes.
in being an uncle, in being my mother's child. I think those are the different little spots that I have, literally, so that they're quite untangible until I allow you in to see through them.
Yeah. You see, can you see how then I could never have just said, here is a one line about this magical man, but also that's part of your joy though, because I think we grow up, I like how you say at my age. Philippe, can we get this thing out the way? Because every time you say at my age, you then drag me with you.
I think for me, I don't have an issue with age. I just think the more we celebrate age is the more we get younger, because we don't necessarily have to hide behind the age. We enjoy and have enjoyed of the pains and the scars of coming of age.
Yes.
And being where we are. So for me, speaking about my age on a daily actually keeps me on my toes and keeps me younger in trying to plant new seeds, trying to look at life in a different way, and in looking at life without being complacent. So every single day, my age reminds me that there is a new beginning every day.
And isn't that fantastic? Also because I think, so I was sickly as a child, right? So I had every disease you could mention. Literally, if disease was walking down the street, Zah would have it. and so at 13, I thought I'd be dead at 30 because I thought 30 was so old. So now that I'm in my 50s, I'm thinking, oh my word, and my mother's 83. So I think if I have another 30 good innings, it would be fantastic. But part of what I find interesting about growing older, because other people grow old and other people grow older, right? How, and I've seen this question asked of people before, what would you say to your 21-year-old self? I always find that question so nonsensical, because my 21-year-old self wouldn't have known what to ask for, because what I know now is different from what I knew at 21.
But it's very funny for me. I knew exactly what I wanted, but then as I feel that I never really enjoyed my teens and my early 20s and 30s because my mind was way ahead of my body. I never chilled with my peers at that age. I always gravitated to older minds because I was always a reader. I don't come from wealth, but I come from a bit of academia where for me, reading every day it's like breathing air.
Yeah.
So for me, information and gravitating towards learning and yearning to learn every day has kept my sanity. And as I could never want to go back because I I don't know what I would have done when I finished school at 14 and I was turning 15. But that's the only world that I knew then. And for me, as much as in retrospect, it might have been hurtful in the sense that there are days where I think I can't drive today because that was not exciting for me. I can't use anything that's got mobility.
Mechanical
Mobility.
mobility.
I can't rollerblade because for me, I just find, that is so,
It's not for me.
it's not for me.
Yeah.
Just so kindergarten, just let the kids play. I'd rather be reading a book.
Yes.
So those are the type of moments where I felt maybe if I had gone through my puberty and had experienced life within mediocrity, I would say, I would not be the same person. So changing journeys and speaking to oneself when one is younger, for me, does not resonate with me because at that point in time, my mind was 60.
There we go. Because I actually have the same experience because the man who eventually became my first husband was 12 years older than I was. But I've always gravitated to people from whom I could learn something. And having been bullied in boarding school, you learn very quickly to keep your own company, right? Which is the first thing, is to be your own best friend. Then the second thing is, what am I going to do with this mind? Because I can't just sit here and bemoan the fact that nobody wants to play
No
with
one
me.
wants to play with
Right?
me.
So then I fell in love with reading. But how did you fall in love with just this big mob called creativity? How did you fall into this world? How did this happen for you?
I think one is born into it, but also circumstances push you into it. I didn't really have one of the best childhoods where I was literally moved from one home to the next home because I did not get along with my stepdad at that point in time. So, and I did not get along with my aunties, a lot of them, because I would tell them all,
Yes.
literally, and I would write them letters at that age of how they were really beyond comprehension within my brain.
They didn't belong.
They didn't belong.
They didn't match. Yeah.
So I was consistently moved from one auntie to the next auntie from there. And I studied so hard. By 14, I'd finished school. And by 15, I was living on my own.
Look at that.
So for me, I did not really have that childhood. Because, and then immediately at 14, then I wrote a letter to Lady Penlutuli, who was the first actual Black woman's editor of a magazine.
Can we just correct this history, please?
Yeah, Penlutuli was the first Black woman to be an editor of a magazine. Because then True Love magazine was a soft porn magazine.
Yes.
And then when Barney Cohen left, they repositioned True Love and appointed Penlutuli as editor.
Yes.
And then I wrote a letter to her criticizing the magazine, and then she called me in at 14.
This is the 14-year self, yes.
And
what did you not like about the magazine?
Because my mom used to be buying, then there was Femina magazine and Darling magazine and Fair Lady, and my mom would always be buying these white publications, reading through them and looking for style and fashion inspiration. It's like, now you've started a new movement. Why can't you have this type of typeset within your magazine? And then she called me in. And I was 14 then, I was in matric. And that is hypothetically the same year I'd written to Mahadi, when Mahadi was working at Unilever.
So you were just writing letters?
Because I had nothing to do. I had finished all my homework, so what else to do?
Yes.
Right? Or find all these people in magazines and newspapers, write them letters, find their addresses, and just probe them.
And how were those meetings?
Well, I was shocked when sometimes I'd be called at assemblies like, there's a lady called Makati Mulibati who wants to see that. Oh my God. She's actually inside, I'll be jumping for joy, but in the meantime, I'll be really peeing my pants.
But where did you get that confidence? Because it takes a lot of confidence to, I mean, you see people today who still, in the presence of someone they think is famous, they lose their minds, right? So you just hop around and you say absolutely nothing. where did you get that confidence? I see something, I have a voice, I'm going to use it, and guess what? I'm also going to let you know what I think.
I think because I've always been surrounded by, and mostly it was women.
Yeah.
I've always been surrounded by great women in my life. So most of the people from Marion Fessler, who I wrote a letter to at around the same age when I was 13, 14, to Lucilla at SFS with around the same time,
Yeah.
to Anna Mary Menkes, to Makati, to
Yes.
Pearl Lutuli, to Shadow Twala. I can mention all these women that I would find them because there was the movement where there was visibility and doors opening for women. So I thought, let me help in my little way in challenging them into helping me see my vision.
That is ridiculous. No, because I'm sitting here and I'm going, we should have another roundtable with all these women, because part of what is a laziness, I think, on our part is because we don't capture history, or because people are too lazy to read anything that's longer than a tweet, then this history is never truly located, right? So this idea of Pearl Lutuli being spoken into history is important.
It is very important because a lot of people don't understand the partnership play in laying, like for me, True Love became like the first after the drum movement. Well, the drum movement was almost also like Pin Girl. There was no woman writer or editor who was a driving force. She came in and she made True Love. But it became a similar like a Fair Lady, but it was palatable to Black women. It was talking about Black women issues. It was celebrating Black women celebrities. It was unearthing Black women talent. So for me, she laid a fundamental foundation that I don't think South Africa has ever given her credit.
These things must be fixed. So maybe actually, instead of having just this innocuous Women's Day, we should actually be deliberate about going into our archives and just going, who are the women we need to surface and celebrate accordingly?
Yeah. And for me, it does not necessarily have to be someone who was fighting the struggle. Because the struggle is a big word. She was fighting a struggle in her own way. In a way of saying, we do need this iconic. Maybe the world might look at them as being frivolous, but we need to find all these women on radio. We need to find all these suit models then to put them on the covers. And then she started the trend of having Black South African women cover. There was no Beyonce, there was no Diana Ross covering True Love. Because she was an international, there was always a South African celebrity female who was on the cover. So she laid a very strong sense of Bogotoness.
I love that. A strong sense of Bogotoness. Hashtag, please, somebody. We're going to explain it in the transcript what Bogotoness means, but in time you will understand. So you've now written these letters. Some of these people respond.
No, a lot of them respond, and all of them respond.
And then what do you do?
Because I used to sacrifice my money. Because there was no fax, there was nothing. I used to take my weekly allowance and have telegrams. So they literally got the letters. They were not posted.
There we go.
They were telegrams.
Please explain a telegram, because I can see a 16-year-old going, what the fudge is a telegram?
Well, a telegram it's almost like an email, but it's like an SMS, but it's immediate. But it's also, I don't know how many words you're allowed.
You weren't, it was like a tweet.
So you go to the post office and you tell them, I've got 10 rands and I would love to send this urgent telegram. So wherever you're sending a telegram to, at that post office there, that literally the telegram would be printed out, and then because it's an emergency and you've paid your money, there'll be a guy in a bicycle getting into the bicycle, rushing to deliver it.
There we go. And there was no manga.
There was no manga. It was like, I'm not sacrificing my 5 rands a week just to be writing these things for them to be somewhere being not delivered. No, I need assurance.
I can telegram my 10 rands and my telegram.
Yeah,
these things need to get me.
They need to be there.
So you have these conversations, and then what do they say to you?
Then they would come in, and then they would ask me, "It's like, oh, you're quite interesting." The first thing is, oh,
you're so young.
Yeah, she's like, you're so young. You've got, oh, you're so, you should concentrate. Because I'm finishing school already. Like, oh, what grade? Is like, I'm in matric.
Yes.
How old are you? I'm 14. How? Ganja.
Yes. Kalapansi, yes.
So, but then that's when the dialogue would start.
Yeah.
And then that's when my interest would start. That's when they would see my vision. Like with Makati, she sponsored my first fashion show at high school. And then she gave she gave all the girls sanitary pads, which is still fundamentally what women are still fighting. And
I
girls are
listened to that over
fighting.
30 years
Yeah,
later. We're still having the same
still having,
conversation.
and because she was working for Johnson and Johnson then. So, and for me, that's how everything sort of started. And then from there, I just had this burning energy of like knowledge within the creative industry. And then because at that point in time, then Pearl started dating Danny.
Yes. Yes.
That's when I
He
met
of
Danny.
Herd Boys.
Of Herd Boys.
Yes.
So that's when I bumped into Danny's, and then I would be the youngest person going to all these parties with all these black creators. I'll be at opening of nightclubs and all that, and I'll really, really be punished by my mother in her head.
Yes.
But I had already finished school. It was like, Mommy, I'm living on my own now.
I finished school.
I finished school.
The thing that you're
I've got a
supposed
job.
to do. Yes.
She was paying half my rent. My rent was like 1,500. She gave me 750. I'll pay 750. I have 750 left.
Yeah.
And that 750, I'd have to make sure I go to Carlton Center. I make sure I save up a little bit. Every week I must have a new outfit.
Oh, look at that. And clearly that hasn't changed. I'm not even going to get started about your white shirt collection, but so you have the start. Who are your references in your immediate life on creativity? Like, do you have someone else in your immediate family, or you're just this lone ranger that's
I've always been this spotted black sheep. I did not really have South African references that I could relate to at that point in time. I did not really have international at that point in time either. I just knew that because of the magazines that we had, whether it was Vogue or GQ, because of sanctions, you'd find the magazine 6 months or 8 months later. Right. So the relevance of that moment had almost like skipped. So that's what made me not to literally look at pictures, but to read stories. I would read creative stories. I would read how they came up with a concept. So for me, it's not always pictorial. It's about the creative psychology.
Okay.
And the methodologies and what people see beyond that print.
So how then do you find a safe landing place in a culture such as this where substance, I've always said that substance suffers because people are so quick to respond to sight or sound?
I believe that because I embrace all my 7 senses, somehow they came into play within each other. And I know somehow I've never missed, but I've always been ahead.
But there is a cost, right? Because there's the point where you can even think, am I so far ahead that nobody will ever catch up? Or
but it's also how you turn it around, when you feel despondent. Like I said, I've never missed.
Yes.
It might have been a miss at that moment, but it was so advanced, probably 10 years into the making, that I've never felt I've lost the essence. So I've never missed.
How do you deal with that?
The competition, because of the life that I've had, I've never been a competitor. I hated sports at school. I don't know how to play the lotto. I don't like going to the casino. I don't like playing board games. I just don't like competing. I believe that I was born good enough. I believe that I was born with a magic in when God created me, created magic. Yeah. And why magic doesn't compete. Yeah. It might sound arrogant, but I don't like competing. Yes. I don't look at my mirror in the mirror. I don't ever look in the mirror and say, oh, I'm better than whoever and whoever. It doesn't mean anything. I walk my confidence because God gave me.
So we should put it on a t-shirt. Magic doesn't compete. We're putting it on it. But we really are, because I think I grew up in a family where I went off to boarding school, came back, I'm the middle child and an only girl. My older brother gets all the praise, my younger brother gets all the good things, and you're just in the middle trying to figure your way out, right? So, in addition to just dealing with teenage divorce, your parents, and bullying at school and finding your own path, there were moments in my life where I felt incredibly lonely. In fact, I felt misunderstood. And the consequence of feeling misunderstood is therefore feeling lonely. But finally, making a friend of myself made me believe that when people say charity begins at home, this is home, right?
Yourself was home.
Yes.
I always say that with all due respect, with both my parents, I was the one who ran the race. I was the one that out of all my dead sperms, I was a chacharach one. So I'm the sole proprietor of my own existence. So I chose to live.
Yeah.
So for me, for the mere fact that I won that race, I never blame anybody for anything that happens to me. I never blame any situations, whether good or bad, on another person. I always reflect everything back to me. And for me, sometimes it does get very difficult where you do seek some kind of validation, but I managed to switch off very quickly and come back to me again. And that on its own, because people are not aware, I spend 90% of the time on my own. I've learned to ask myself questions. I've learned by the time I'm seeing the world, no matter what they can say, I've already read about so much stuff, even if it's about one word.
Yeah.
I've already deliberated that no, actually it doesn't mean that. So by the time the world tells me that, I've already made my own conclusion. And I might not be right, but that's my methodology.
Oh, that's fine. Because I was going to ask you, how do you, because being uniquely gifted, right? The world very quickly can make you feel different, right? And
no, the world can make sure that they isolate you.
Yeah, so there can be shame attached
but that's
to
when you
being
twist it around. It's
othered.
like, I always say to people, you think you don't invite me to your award? Actually, I'm going to be spending Uber from here to Surrey 1,000 rand for one glass of champagne and little canapes, and I don't even eat in public. Go to hell. I'll take the 1,000 rand and buy myself a bottle and stay at home and drink.
And
have my own party.
Yes.
So for me, I always say, by people trying to close doors, they're actually saving from their debauchery and their toxicity.
Yes. So tell me what sort of work you are attracted to. So when you say, my creativity is boundless, and I feed my energy in all these multiple ways. What sort of people are you gravitating towards? What sort of projects are you gravitating towards?
For me, mention Soweto any day. My freckles just go on fire. That's why I always say, when they say what makes you black, like my face is all my freckles from the map of Soweto. So every ounce of my creative nuances are based on the. If you mention Soweto, it's like, what else? There is so much beyond history that is buried and put under the carpet and mediocrity, if that's the word, celebrated.
You just made it up.
Yeah, celebrated. I just think there is just so much that one place in the world has got so much history. For me, so it is exactly the same age as Harlem. That's why those two places have got so much black and undeniable history that will linger on forever. There's so many souls, there's so many sacrifices, there's so much creativity, there's so much pain, there's so much joy, there is so much credibility, there is so much gangsterism, there is just everything that is there has got meaning, and it's got meaning to its highest level.
Yeah.
Everything, whether you get sacked from Soweto, you are just not going to be just a clerk in chief.
You're going to be a proper tag.
You're going to be the bestest of the best.
Yes.
So everything, the levels that Soweto has set within my creative psychology are sometimes beyond me, where it's not a challenge. It's a consistent joy. It's a consistent smile. Every time I think about Soil, I just want to smile. I just want to do. I just want to give.
But what do you make of this practice? Because we've seen it, right? We've seen people come into our environments, take one aspect of it, go and polish it off in Peru, sell it in the Americas for gazillions and gazillions of dollars. Other people call it cultural appropriation. I just call it theft.
Well, there's a difference. For me, words can be very dangerous. As much as we could be calling it appropriation or whether it could be gentrification, I think you allow the people to take from you. I was having a conversation with 3 of the artists at the same event about 2 weeks ago about how do they feel about their art being online and being bought again by the white system.
Yeah.
Are we going back to the Sarah Baartman, Jurassic Koto, and George Pemba moment? Because we're chasing the pounds and the euros? Or are we really going to be saying, let's stop for a little bit. Let's re-educate our own in appreciating our own.
And what was that conversation like?
They were saying, if you're going to be selling to a black local person, he'll rather buy a Porsche. You'll never pay $250,000 for painting. Sometimes it makes economical sense to the artist. But then for how long are we going to live through that? It's still the same battle that's happening in fashion, where South African fashion is still at the bottom level. But you walk right now and you go to Santon, at Gucci and at Louis Vuitton, they're accused.
Yeah.
Even now during the pandemic, it's worse. They're accused outside Gucci and Louis Vuitton.
So what needs to shift?
We still need to change the whole, I hate this word as well, the narrative. Oh, goodness, did I have to say
if you have to have narrative and pivot,
sure.
Those 2 words, I'm ready to throw
sometimes someone who's got a butchery now probably says the narrative of being a butchery.
I'll speak to you about the narrative of meat.
Yeah. We have to change how we navigate our wealth.
Yeah.
We have to navigate and start a proper secular economy, black economy of selflessness and supporting each other without putting down each other. I still find black bourgeoisism, if they support black, they want black to feel
that I'm supporting you, so be grateful.
So, yeah. I need that dress in 24 hours. Hey, I'm one of your biggest customers.
Okay. So I've done you a favor by accessing your estimates.
Actually, I can actually go and buy a ready-to-wear at Louis Vuitton now.
I would have gone, but I'm doing you the favor.
I'm doing the favor. I need to we must support local.
So I'm supporting
you. So, you know.
But how do you? But clearly, that part is a conversation that we need to have with ourselves.
I think because
decolonization of the mind.
There were moments where, especially the last art fair, the opening nights were very sad.
Yeah.
Where I'll be walking around, I'll be hearing conversations where people were not necessarily buying the art because they appreciate the artist.
Yeah.
No, Usban, when I'm 150, I mean, I'm 200.
I'll listen to that.
You know, and for me, it is again the whole, and I've had this conversation with people within the art.
Yeah.
It is again being fashionable. We do not, people in this, especially black people, in Southern Africa, they have trend-driven careers. So it is vague. If you have bought houses, what are you doing? I'm consulting for art for my husband's friends and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Anyway.